This audio presentation of You Are God is broadcast to you courtesy of MindworthyInfo.com and is presented to you by yours truly, Rasheeal Dixon. The purpose of You Are God is to break down the Bible and to show you that the Bible is nothing more than allegory, and it isn't meant to be taken literally. But throughout the ages, men has been taking the Bible literally, and by doing this, they have diminished the true mystical fact that lies within the Bible. You Are God is here to break down the Bible piece by piece and to show you that all the characters, places, and events are nothing more than different states of man's consciousness personified as characters, places, and events. Brothers and sisters, I thank you so much for joining me for another installment of You Are God. Please, as usual, come on over to MindworthyInfo.com and subscribe to the newsletter. And please stop by YouTube and subscribe to the channel Mystical Thinking with Rasheeal Dixon. It is a visual presentation of the teachings which we teach biblical metaphysics, a serious spiritual system using the Bible in your consciousness. Family, I thank you so much for joining me. And as usual, I am always humbled to have your time because I know that your time is valuable. And it is a precious asset, and I am always grateful and filled with gratitude when you lend your time, your precious time to me. Today we're going to discuss the guarding of God, and this is going to be a little brief teaching. It's going to be something that should make you awaken your mind and your consciousness, and you should get in tune with this conscious science because it is marvelous. It is incredible. The garden of God. The garden of God is a garden that you dwell in every single day. You play in this garden. You shape your life in this garden. You use this garden to plan your life. You do everything in this garden. But many sit around unaware, unfocused, unable to realize that this garden is powerful. The garden that we speak about is a garden that you reside in 24 hours out of the day, 7 days a week, 365 days of the year, and 66 if it is a leap year. This garden is a garden of your mind. The Bible speaks of these gardens. It speaks of the garden, and God strengthens. As we know, Ezekiel means God strengthens because Ezekiel is one of those theophoric names that embeds a God or some aspect of a God in it. And Ezekiel means God strengthens. Thou hast been in Eden, the garden of God. Every precious stone was thy covering. Ezekiel 28:13. This garden where you reside in every single day is the garden of God. The garden of your mind that you shape and you mold and you do everything and you plan your existence in this garden, but many aren't aware of this. So they sit back every single day, cursing this garden, cursing their life, thinking about the problem, pondering on things that is not going to build them. And so this garden gets seeds planted in it that grow after its kind. And when it's growing after its kind, it shows up in your physical world. In your reality, you see the effects of what you have planted, but many are not aware of it. Thou hast been in Eden. Eden is one of those gardens where everyone is searching. Everyone has been searching for the Garden of Eden, but can't find it because the garden isn't a literal garden. The authors of these texts were amazing mystics. They knew that this place that man is dwelling is what's going to plant the seeds that will grow after their kind, but many are searching for a physical garden, not knowing that these texts were written in an esoteric way. Garden of Eden comes from the Hebrew Edna, right? Eden comes from Edna, and Edna means pleasure, and the pleasure that you give yourself is based on whatever you plant in this garden. So the pleasures of life could sometimes be the pains of life, where some are complaining while you have some who are happy. Understanding this garden will bring you joy. And when these days were expired, the king made a feast unto all the people that were present in Shushan, the palace, both great and small, 7 days in the court of the garden of the king's palace. Esther 1:5. The garden in these days that you always dwelling in the king's palace is the mind that creates, in the mind where the treasure house of all the treasures that you need reside. The 7 days is the number 7, which is spiritual perfection. And spiritual perfection is what one seeks when they are aware of the fact that when you dwell in this garden and what you plant, what you think about, what you sow, you will reap and your harvest will come to you. So if you look into this and you look into it with a deep eye, you see the full meaning behind it. And Esther means star or myrtle. The stars were what they used to guide their paths back in those times before we had GPS and all this wonderful technology that we now possess. Esther, meaning the star, as they align the way that men think and the guidance that you find within you. You can also find this guidance in the stars, as above so below, as within so without. And myrtle is a plant. So you see, the more that you get into this garden, you understand it, the more you plant. And whatever you plant in it, you will grow, and it will guide you, and it will lead your path, as the stars led many to fortune and led many before we had these wonderful technology that we have now, like GPS, global positioning systems, and everything else. The word Esther also comes from the Persian word for star. So you see how everything keeps on aligning with guiding your consciousness. Some scholars even identify Esther with the name of the Babylonian goddess of love, Ishtar. The love of this garden and what you plant in this wonderful garden will grow, and it will give you everything that you want. The root of Esther in Hebrew means hide or conceal, to be hidden. Many are hidden from the fact that if they nourish this garden of God will plant the seeds that they need. When you sit back and you meditate upon these words and you think about your consciousness and align it with the words, you will see how powerful they are. It is like a grain of mustard seed which a man took and cast into his garden, and it grew and waxed a great tree, and the fowls of the air lodged in the branches of it. Luke 13:19. What is the kingdom of heaven? What is this garden like? It is like a grain of mustard seed. Have that faith, and that faith will grow in what you plant. And a man took it and cast it into his garden. You take that seed that you have faith in, that it will grow after its kind. That thought, that belief, that idea you have, you know it will manifest. Stop believing in the outside world and what it's giving you. Believe in your imagination. And it grew and waxed a great tree, and the fowls of the air lodged in its branches of it. The fowls of the air, the birds, they hang out on this tree that you grow that is great, and they will grow, and skies are the limit, because you can't limit yourself. You can soar like one of these birds. And the mind of man is where everything lives, and that is the garden of God. Brothers and sisters, I'm going to leave you with that, and I want you to think on it. Manifest and listen to the words and study, and remember that you are powerful. Remember who you are. I thank you for joining me for this quick snippet. Please come on over to the YouTube channel, Mystical Thinking with Rasheeal Dixon, and subscribe. Many teachings are on there, and also unlisted videos. Check them out. It's amazing. And come on over to mindworthyinfo.com and subscribe to the newsletter and read some of the articles. Amazing. Until next time, brothers and sisters, I thank you for joining me. May you all stay blessed. Now, let us go into the silence.